seated so we can officially start. Everybody having a great morning so far?
Yeah.
It's been really awesome. I'm just going to take a quick minute to introduce our surprise focus speaker during your lunch. While you guys are having your salad, let me introduce you to the awesome Seth Green. And I'm just so excited because I finally got to meet him in person. You know, like online you have all these people you engage with, and then for a long time, and eventually, if you're lucky enough, you get to meet them in real life. So I was like, oh, you're Seth, awesome. And then I get to introduce him. So let me tell you a little bit about Seth. Seth is the founder of one of the fastest growing privately held marketing companies. He is a top podcaster. How cool to have Bernie give you the endorsement, right? In the whole room, we endorse him with CEO space. That was pretty awesome. He posted that on Facebook. He's the author of 6 best-selling books. He's the only person. How many of you know who Dan Kennedy is? Dan's kind of like a Kevin Gardner, right?
Yeah.
But very well known, and Seth is the only person that Dan Kennedy has nominated for Marketer of the Year 3 years in a row. Wow. That's pretty significant, right? Wow. Married with a beautiful family, and he's been featured on all kinds of cool media like CBS Money Watch and News and the New York Times, and on and on and on it goes. And Mike Koenig, you all know who he is, right? Put him in his launch videos as one of his all-stars, and he represents everybody from local brick-and-mortar businesses to Fortune 500 companies. And I am really excited to hear him through lunch. So here's what I'm going to tell you. Because I said to him, how am I going to eat and take notes at the same time? And there's no room on the table, right? So he is going to video all of this, and then we'll all get the video. Yay! Later. So without further ado, let me introduce to you the awesome Seth Green.
Thank you. It was certainly a bucket list honor to get that endorsement from Bernie at CEO Space. But what means even more to me was that when we were talking earlier and I was expressing my gratitude for something he did for me last October, he said, "You got the best hair." So that was even more important. I don't know if it's true or not, but I'll take it. All right, so thank you very much. I'll tell you. So what I'm here to share with you today is an idea that if you implement it, will completely change the way you attract clients, change their relationship with you, change how much they pay you going up, and completely transform your business. Are you ready?
Yeah. Ready.
Awesome. Okay. So, quick show of hands. I don't want to assume anything. How many of you here know what a podcast is? Okay, almost everybody. Okay, so for the one person who didn't, a podcast is like a radio show on your phone. A radio show on your phone. Awesome. Just make sure you're paying attention. Okay, so a radio show on your phone. So I'm going to share with you a couple different ways to do a podcast, turn it into a best-selling book, and get a whole lot of business out of it. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So the biggest question I get on podcasting is, and if you don't subscribe to my podcast, it's called Direct Response Marketing, shameless plug. You should listen to it. It is free, and on it you'll hear people interviewed like Ken MacArthur, Richard Weiler, Dan Kennedy, Roland Frazier, Russell Brunson, Sally Hogshead, Bernie Dorman. So we got some really amazing folks who are sharing with our audience their secret sauce. But I didn't start out with that. I literally started out with no listeners. And grew it to this point. And what I did was I interviewed 15 of the top podcasters in the world, people with audiences in the millions, and said, how did you do it? How did you grow? How do you make money? How does this all work? What's the secret? And so that's not my idea. I can't take the credit for that. Napoleon Hill did it with Think and Grow Rich. He went and interviewed the most successful people, thanks to Andrew Carnegie. And then I believe there's a book slightly more popular called The Bible, which is a whole bunch of interviews of other people. Best-selling book of all time. time, also the mastermind model. So I'm not taking any credit for this one. So the thing I found was that most of these podcasters were all doing the same thing, but it didn't apply to regular people. So like John Lee Dumas or Pat Flynn grows an audience to supersize and then starts selling ad space and sponsorship on their shows. Now that's all fine and well and good if you've got 1 million subscribers, which we're crossing that mark in the next 90 days, which is really awesome. However, do you really want a second job selling ads on your podcast? No. Does the local business owner, local dentist, want to sell ads on his podcast? No, of course he doesn't. So I said there's got to be something different we can do where we don't have to wait till we get 100,000 listeners to make any money, because I don't have that kind of time. I got 3 little kids. I need money yesterday for their toy habits. So I said, how do we make money from our very first episode without selling a single ad or sponsorship? Can I make money from a podcast if I've got 9 listeners and 8 of them work for me? So I figured it out, and that's what I'm going to share with you. So once you have a podcast, and here's the first question I get is technology. How do I do it? What do I need? I did a piece with Stone Cold Steve Austin, the wrestler, and he said, I was waiting for 3 years to start a podcast, but I was afraid of the technology. And I said, you don't need any more. You already have all the technology you need. What are you talking about? So you got a phone? I said, yeah. I said, that's it. So you can use Skype to record a podcast. You can use freeconferencecall.com. You can use GoToMeeting and Google Hangout. But you can also use a call recorder app that is free on your phone. Or you can go to Office Depot and buy a little voice recorder for $20. And that will record all the audio you ever need. Now the audio quality is going to vary. If you use a voice recorder, it's not going to be as good as Skype. But it'll be good enough. Because again, we're not worried about getting to necessarily 1 million listeners. Because you don't need 1 million, you just need a very small number of the right people to listen to your show. So let's talk about, okay, let's pretend we've got the technology piece covered. Now we need to talk about the framework. What type of show are we going to do? There's 3, one of which I'm going to tell you not to do, and I'll tell you why, and 2 that'll work. The first show that you're not going to do is a rant. That's where you're the only one on air, and you just basically bitch about your problems or complain about something for a while. There are some very popular rant shows. My favorite is by Garrett White from Wake Up Warrior, which is an incredible show, and his is motivational. 10 minutes, and it gets you all pumped up. But the downside to doing a rant is the only one who's going to promote your rant is you. Nobody else will care. The secret sauce is you're going to do an interview show. There's 2 different types of interview shows. You can interview your ideal client on the show. So for example, one of the folks we represent is Scott Holman. Scott coached Tony Robbins. Scott coaches, that's the type of people who his clients are. And he grew 2 companies to the Inc. 500. And now is focusing on coaching Inc. 500 CEOs. So he hired us, and we got him 20 Inc. 500 CEOs to be on his show. He interviews them, and those are his ideal clients. And he asks the questions that we scripted in the interview. Because for our clients, we do all the work. All they have to do is the interview. And one of the magic questions we script that I'm going to give you permission to swipe is, what's your biggest challenge? It does not matter who you're interviewing. I've got a golf coach who's a client. He's interviewing large company CEOs who golf about life and business lessons learned on the golf course. So his question is, what's your biggest challenge in your golf game? And they may say, my slice, or my hook, or my backswing. No selling on the show. So if you were taking notes, write that down. You're not allowed to sell on your show. I'm telling you this, it's not law or anything, but I'm telling you not to sell on the show. Because the show's supposed to be all about your guest. If you want to get them to promote it, it needs to be all about them, what's in it for me, WIFN, everybody's favorite station. The more you let them show off, the more they'll promote it and the harder they'll work for you. Because they feel warm and fuzzy about it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So, Kindle category marketing campaign, Ken promoted it, and we got it to number 2. Indirect marketing. So now I've got screenshots of me and Ken, two: credibility, authority, social proof, absolutely. I got a little bit of money from 99 cents a pop, not much. So it covered my $175 lunch ticket. But I did it with Alex Charfin, our friend. You search for Alex. He doesn't have any products on Amazon, so if you search for him, you find me. Ivan Meisner, who's been mentioned, who's the founder of BNI, largest referral networking organization in the world. Now, Ivan's written 20 New York Times best-selling books, so I don't come up number 1 for Ivan, but I come up number 8. So I'm halfway there. It's not too bad, and the funny thing is, because we did that, Ivan said, you know, you had me on your show, you did an ebook and promoted it, you donated the money to my charity, I should have you on my BNI podcast. I said, oh, all right, if I have to. And it's funny because we're getting business every week from people calling saying, Ivan told me to hire you. Ivan said no such thing. Bernie said that. Ivan did not say that. Ivan just had me on the show and said, this sounds like a good idea. So we keep donating more money to his charity. And who do you want to piggyback off of? And if I get enough, if I have like 30 or 40, I mean, I've got over 150 episodes of my podcast. If I turn them all into little mini ebooks on Amazon, that actually will turn into eventually a decent passive revenue stream. But even more importantly, it turns into lead generation, free affiliate traffic from Amazon, and more credibility. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So that's the really condensed version of how you do this. So it works no matter what business you're in. I'm sure somebody could stop me eventually, but it hasn't happened yet. So for example, we've got a pediatric dentist. Okay, so we've got a pediatric dentist. Now dentists are not normally known for being big podcasters or big authors. And he said, how are you? I want more kids. I want more families. And usually the provider, the decision maker, stereotypically for medical care in a family is the mom. Would you all agree on that?
Yes.
Mama makes that call. So I said, where are we going to get more moms with kids? Let's interview pediatricians. They see lots of moms with kids. Where else do moms with kids go? Well, they go to the OBGYN to have the kids.
Yep.
And to maybe, anyway. So let's use OBGYNs and write a book between the two of them on, let's say, raising healthy kids. And all of a sudden, those 20 pediatricians have the book in their lap. And they're handing it out to all their patients. And those patients are coming back to my dentist. Now, so the first thing you've got to figure out is who's your ideal client. Marketing 101, right? Who's my target market? Who do I want? I'm just going to give you an example of how we revamped the answer to that question, which fits in with what Felicia was telling us earlier. If you haven't thought about this already, you probably should. So I had another dentist who came to us and we said, my first question in any consultation is, who's your ideal client? And he said, I'm a dentist. I can help anyone with teeth. And we laughed, but it's true. And I said, well, let's see. Let me go through my iPhone, find everybody with teeth, and call them all, and say, you still have your teeth? You should talk to this dentist. Again, it doesn't happen, right? I said, so that's not really your ideal patient. Let's data mine your patient database, and find out who you like working with the most, who refers the most, who pays you the most money, who, if I could wave you a magic wand and make your entire practice that person, it'd be your dream come true. And it turned out his ideal patient was a affluent, middle-aged woman who had gotten divorced in the last 6 months, was starting to date again, was terrified of younger women, and wanted to do something to make herself feel better about her appearance, but didn't want to have plastic surgery. Is that specific?
Yeah.
Yes. So I said, fire every one of your other patients, and let's just do divorce smile makeovers. I said, I can't do that. I'll lose my whole No, you don't understand. I can't do it. It's not going to work. I said, we're going to renovate your office. You're closing for a while. Because you look like a dental practice. Does a middle-aged divorcing woman want to go to a dental office? No. I said, you're going to look like a high-end spa when I'm done with you. Your dental chairs are getting replaced with massage chairs. They're having pedicure things at the base. The woman's going to come, while her teeth are getting done, she's getting a pedicure and a manicure. You're serving champagne. We're having aromatherapy and playing music, soft music. And she's going to refer like crazy because she loves her divorce makeover. She's getting picked up in a limo to be brought here.
Every woman here wants to go to that.
Right.
I'm not even getting divorced.
Right. That's the power of a really well-defined micro-niche target market. And every 45-year-old woman who's getting divorced knows other 45-year-old women who are getting divorced.
Oh, yeah.
They don't get divorced. I don't understand this because we're having some of our friends go through this. We're the marriage, like Bernie and his wife, that my wife has now started to encounter, like for the first time is encountering jealousy from her friends in life because we have a wonderful relationship. And everyone's like, your husband loves you. I'm like, aren't I supposed to? Like, my husband doesn't pay any attention to me, whatever.
She can't get better hair.
I married off Bertie. She's much better looking than I am, but thank you. So anyway, so one friend gets divorced, and then it's like there's something in the water, and it makes it okay, and a couple other friends start getting divorced. So every woman getting divorced knows other women getting divorced. And now, what's really cool is the women are bringing friends with them. Come keep me company during my all-day smile makeover. Hang out, have champagne, eat finger sandwiches, and then what does the woman who's hanging out all day do? She goes, I want that. My dentist doesn't do this. He doesn't take insurance anymore. He's $25,000 cash, and he's got a waiting list. He doesn't do any more cleanings, any more root canals, any bridge work. He just does one or two of these a day. So when you get your target market dialed in that well, no one in his town who's getting divorced is going anywhere else. Because nobody does that. You gotta show up like nobody else and serve your customer like you were talking about earlier, like nobody else. So, what business are you really in? Because he's not in the dental business anymore. He's not a dentist. He is a change agent. He is, to a certain extent, a therapist. He is completely changing their self-image and the way they feel. He's in the customers, he's in the incredible experience business. We basically Disney-fied his practice. And that's what you want to think about. Disney is, and this Dan Kennedy, who is my mentor, who I've learned everything from, is a big student of Disney, and I've studied Disney because of him. And one of the things that is amazing is that Disney gets more dollars per head than Vegas does. Las Vegas has free liquor, gambling, and legal prostitution, but Disney makes more money because of the experience they are providing. So if Walt were alive, what would he do with your business? I mean, Bernie talked about the wealth plan and totally transforming it from, I'm not just a web designer trying to get a client to pay a bill tomorrow. Because we've all been there. We've been in that, oh my God, payroll's in 2 days, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and I have no idea how I'm making, I don't have the money. Panic. But when you think about wealth, it's a totally different mindset. If I couldn't have shifted our dentist, he would still be doing root canals and worrying, when I'm 65, who's going to buy my practice so I can retire, hopefully. And now if he wanted to sell his practice, he'd have a line at the door. Because he's created a system that attracts the ideal client, who loves him, happily pays, stays, refers like crazy, which is totally different from a normal dentist. When was the last time your dentist asked you for a referral? And when was the last time you said, oh my God, you gotta go see my dentist? You're lucky, he's lucky if you actually show up every 6 months. That's not a referral like crazy culture. So if you're gonna do a podcast, who do you want to interview? Do you want to interview your ideal clients, or do you want to interview your ideal referral sources? And then how many different ways can you repurpose? video, audio, social media content, blog posts, ebook of each episode. When the whole thing is done, when you've got enough episodes, enough transcriptions, you can make a physical book. And guess what happens? Everyone who was on the show who's in your book is going to promote your book because they're in it. So you just, let's say you have 20 people in your book. You just created an army of 20 unpaid affiliates who are out there telling the world how wonderful you are and how they've got to get your book, and you didn't have to pay them anything. What would it do if you had 20 referral sources out there regularly promoting you, going, oh my God, Kathy is fabulous, you have to talk to her. You have to read this. So what I like to do is I like to do more interaction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a breath and some water, and I want someone or a few people to volunteer to play with me and say, here's my business, how does this work? And let's play. Hang on 1 second. Who wants to play?
I changed your language in that.
Alright. Well, Joy already had her hand up, and so I thought I was safe.
Joey wants to play with you first.
Yes.
Oh, Joy!
Thank you, Joy, for being great. Okay, which business do you want to play with?
The main business I have is doing the home, and it's a real estate company in California and expanding to Texas.
Okay, is this the events in your home one?
No,
No.
I sell houses,
Okay, so this is traditional real estate brokerage.
right,
Okay.
but I'm a design psychologist, so I help people stage their houses for sale,
Okay.
and I help buyers with the design psychology plan.
Ooh, okay, so I don't know any realtors who do that.
No, there isn't any.
Okay, so awesome.
Oh,
Why?
but there's-
Right. Okay, so who is your, let's do both, who's your ideal client?
Well, the people I mainly sell to are young families, second homes, where they
For upsizing, which my wife and I did 2 years ago, because we kept having more kids, we ran out of room.
kids and two working parents,
Okay,
45 and up.
okay. So, in your case, you're not necessarily going to interview that person on your show. You're going to interview the person who gets you to that person.
Right.
So if it's funny, we have some realtors as clients, so this is not pre-planned. But if I am your target market pretty much. So who you could get to, who would see me before you would? I'm going to pretend I don't already know the answers to these questions so that we can play. Mortgage broker.
Well, mostly people have brothers or sisters or cousins or an aunt who's a real estate agent.
Right, everybody knows somebody who's a real estate agent, but most of them aren't very good. I think like some 80% of realtors, I mean, there's so many part-time realtors and people who don't make much money being a realtor. So obviously, if you're the author, you can differentiate yourself as, how much volume does your cousin do? You know, does your cousin have a book? Are they the authority on this topic in this area? Do you really want to trust? I mean, family is family, but this is business. You need to get top dollar for your house. So for example, we have a client whose book on this topic is how to sell your house for top dollar in blank city. And they're interviewing a whole bunch of people, and you don't have to keep standing, kind of.
Okay, good.
My
My chocolate.
Yes, chocolate looks very good. So, for example, they're interviewing not only mortgage brokers, they're interviewing home inspectors, they're interviewing contractors who are doing like remodeling work, they're interviewing repair people, yes.
80% of people who are home buyers start online, Googling, and this is why I pay Zillow $2,000 a month to be a Zillow Premier agent.
Okay.
How can I get people that come to see my profile go to my podcast?
Okay, so that's a great question, everybody. That applies to other people. And Bernie, are you interrupting, or you have another question?
Go. Superstar real estate agents, something along that track, keep up with. And then under the artwork, it's like real estate agents that do $5 million or more a year. And so, it's just interviewing real estate agents that do $5 million or more. They're going to have everybody at their site.
Right.
And they're selling it's almost like the ad on the back is like, if you're selling a home for $1 million or less, let me recommend 1,100 competitors. If you're selling a home
Right,
for
which
$5 million,
totally
or more,
positions you.
majority sites,
Yes.
site will work, you know.
Yes, that is an awesome idea. Another one that applies to everybody in the room, if you're a little bit more guerrilla, if you're a little bit more aggressive and willing to be a little bit sneaky, are you open to that?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's pretend, so I have a client who makes the only all-natural PMS relief cream that actually works. Yes.
I need that.
We're doing a special for Mother's Day. Get rid of Mother's Day. So the sneaky strategy is we build, let's say, a directory site where it's a directory of the top PMS relief cream. It's not branded to them at all. They don't even know it exists. But their supplement just happens to be like you never want to put it as number one because it's too obvious, but their supplement just happens to be like the number 2 supplement on this independent rating site. And we rank SEO the heck out of it. We drive lots of paid traffic to it. So people go, check it, and then say, ooh, I want that. And a lot of the other links that are going to competitors just happen to be broken. So you can't get there. But number 2 works, which is our client. So you could do directory of top realtors in X city, magically put yourself where you want to be, put more ad space, more content all about you as positioning, and which segues into Bernie's idea of, if you want to sell your house for less than $1 million, go talk to these other people who aren't as good as me.
Yeah, the top 10 in the city list in any city.
Right.
You own that space and she's the expert doing it.
Exactly.
Killing it.
Yeah. Like if you look at Business First or any of those, there's magazine Cranes has top 50.
The advertising she gets with that.
Yeah. You could also sell ads to all the mortgage brokers. You could sell ads to the contractors. It's a separate business that probably generates a lot more passive revenue than selling houses. Because that gives you have to work for.
Or she made $100 million on that site. You know, building
She'd
all
probably
this-
be happy with 1 to 10% of that, but you dream bigger than the rest of us.
No, I have big dreams.
All right. Well, then I
There's a
will.
house
She can stand it,
there's a house for in Newport Beach for $720,000.
which I think you're gonna watch it in the future.
My son designed it, I would like to buy it, but
Wow.
Anyone that has a buyer for $24 million
I'd like to
house,
sell it.
she would like to talk to them.
Yes.
You know,
And they should come to CEO
first
space.
10 minutes, you know, yeah, just all cash.
Hard money lender.
I think we're moving from there.
Yes. Anybody else want to play? Joy, was that helpful? Yes. Okay. We'll go to 1, 2, 3, 4 if you have time. Lawrence.
Okay, so this is something very different, and I have a line of gourmet spices and soup mixes, dip mixes. Yeah, so it's called the Mountain Man Gourmet.
Mountain Man Gourmet, everybody.
And I also have started to videotape myself doing cooking recipes with some of those.
Oh man, you being funny on camera would be awesome.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun. I tell a lot of stories and goof off and have fun. And then one of my ideas was with the podcasting was I was thinking about contacting people who have been on the Food Network Star and Chopped and all that, and then interviewing them for podcasts. But do you have any ideas of how I could?
I can get you to Adam Burger, who won Food Network Star.
Oh.
And the other thing, so you've got, this is a huge leverage play. You're not going to interview one mom about making one chicken recipe. There's not enough money there.
No,
You want large, so it wouldn't, Food Network stars would be great. Celebrity chefs would be good. Rachel Ray, I mean, eventually, she's not gonna be your first guest.
Right.
Like John Lee Dumas is doing my show in June, but he wouldn't do it when I had 10 listeners. Here's the really cool thing about podcasts, is nobody knows anything about them. So 8 out of 10 of your guests are just most likely gonna say okay. Nobody's gonna ask for your metrics because they don't know yet. They don't know to say how many subscribers do you have, how many downloads do you have. They don't know any of that stuff to ask, which is how like Gary, the outdoor boardroom and golf coach guy, got giant CEOs of giant companies to do his show when he literally had like 20 listeners because they didn't know to ask. So you want to strike while the iron is hot, because in a couple of years, people will have started to figure this out, and if you haven't grown your podcast by then, they'll say no. So Food Network stars, celebrity chefs, TV personalities, and then who is, in addition to, let's say, Rachel Ray saying this is fabulous, everybody should go buy it, which is like the Oprah effect. What about restaurant owners? Not one guy who owns one mom and pop place, but multi-restaurant location, like the guys who own like 20 different locations, not of McDonald's, but of like restaurants they started. So you don't want one restaurant guy might be a bread and butter client, but somebody who owns 20 could say, I'll go put this in all 20 locations and buy a bunch on a regular basis. There aren't too many restaurant owner podcasts, I know, because we're working on them. And we surveyed the competition first and there wasn't much. It's like in chiropractic, there were like 5 podcasts on chiropractic. And I said, iTunes has there are a billion people listening to podcasts right now. And that number is going to triple in the next 4 years. The reason for that is, and this is really, really smart, Apple has made a deal with almost every major car manufacturer that it's called CarPlay, and your dashboard interface on a new car is going to come pre-bundled with the Apple Podcast interface. And it's a native app, which means you cannot delete it even if you want to. You can't get rid of it. So even if you don't have an iPad, iPhone, iPod, iMac, you will have an iCar, like it or not. So there's going to be 3 billion people listening in the next 4 years. You want to show up in front of them, which is why a podcast and the next most used app on your phone, other than social media, is Amazon. So you need a book, because that's where they're going to be looking for you. They're going to be listening to you and looking for you to read. Who was number 2? I forget. Lawrence was first. There were a couple other people with their hands up.
I will.
Were you next, Amy? No. Okay, go for it.
Like to be selling high-end ad space on Facebook to financial planners, insurance guys, and all of that.
So that's our largest vertical, because it's where I started as a financial advisor. So easy one, this is a layup. So I have real estate and financials. Anybody here at chiropractor, we'll be all set. We'll have all of our clients. Okay, so financial advisors. So do a podcast for them. And I'm doing my 7th book is Secrets of Highly Successful Financial Advisors. So I interviewed like 20 top 1% multi-million-dollar producers, and got their secrets. And our first webinar in a week and a half is, guess what? Come learn what these guys are doing that you're not doing. And oh, by the way, you can just have to hire us to do it for you. So you can do exactly the same thing, but just do it on Facebook. And to get more leverage as opposed to one advisor at a time, you can go interview people like me and Jeremiah who have large lists of financial advisors that we're already serving. Or you could interview like the FMOs, IMOs, these are companies that sell products to financial advisors and have thousands of them on their list.
How about the spin of being able to then create the money to do a lot of giving? I mean, that financial planners could advise their own clients on how to create money so that people can be generous charitably.
Okay, so you lost me. Are we still on selling them Facebook ad space? Or is this something separate?
Well, yes, we are, but we're using the podcast to, it's an idea for the podcast.
So you could do episodes on that. That could be one of your magic questions, is how do you help your clients become more charitable?
Right.
And yes, you could absolutely use that angle as the do-gooder part of the piece. And plus then they talk about what's your favorite charity?
Right.
And then the charity would get exposure because the financial advisor talked about it. So the financial advisor is going to email the charity and go, hey, look, I just talked about you on the show, or you could reach out to the charity and go, how come you don't have Facebook ads?
Right.
So then you get the financial advisor and their charity.
Because, I want to make money in something, but
You want to do good.
I want to.
Yes, of course we do. We all want to save the world. Yes. Who is number 3?
So far.
Yes. Little corner. Anybody else have their hand? I thought I could bring it. Yes.
How would I go by online business consulting company?
The relationship.
Relationships, yeah, especially if it's specialized in marriage.
Okay, so who are Okay, so obviously they've got to be married, as to be your client, most likely. Do we know anything else about who your ideal client is? Do you want people who are 30 and married, 40 and married, 70 and married? Between 30 and 70, okay. So I would humbly ask that you think about narrowing that down. Because the person who said, the couple that's 70 years old and married is gonna have a very different mindset and probably different issues than the couple that is 30. We're, or 40. In our 40s, our biggest stresses are the kids and parenting and the activities, and at least in my life, and all of that, and juggling all of that. Whereas if we're 70, we're gonna have different issues. It might be it's funny, Felicia told us not to ask, how are you doing? And there's a great reason for that, because people will tell you. Like I learned within the first, hopefully they won't watch this, but I learned within the first month or two of dating my wife not to ask her dad how he was doing. Because I got a half-hour answer of all of his ailments that day. Sorry, Dad. Hopefully you're not on YouTube. I know he's not on Instagram, so we'll see. So, there's that issue. So they're going to have different issues. So what you would counsel a 70-year-old on is very different. So I would say, hypothetically, I ask you to maybe not right now, but to think about being more specific, because you could have a totally different offering for the 70-year-old than the 30-year-old. And you could probably get a whole lot more money out of the 70-year-old, because they've had 70 years to accumulate it. They can probably afford to pay you more than the 30-year-old who's worrying how I can get my kids through diapers, nursery school, high school, and college. But depending on who they are is going to affect who you would interview to get to them. So in marriage counseling, are these people who are happily married and want to improve and get to the next level and are into like personal development? So I want married people who are, so Julia could tell you on Facebook, I want married people who are fans of Tony Robbins or John Gray or Dr. Laura, God help you, or whoever else. Or do you want people who are trying to save their marriage? In which case, that's a different target market, different concerns, and then, I don't know, maybe your new best friend is the matrimonial lawyer. I don't know. Or there are a ton of relationship gurus of various types that you could run Facebook ads in front of Julia and say, I want all the people who are fans. So, for example, I have a friend named Savannah Ellis who runs the Marital Infidelity Institute, Bernie's plan. And coaches, has certified 5,000 therapists in her methodology for how to survive an affair. So they only coach, she only trains them, she doesn't train them on anything else, how to coach couples where someone's had an affair and we're trying to keep them from getting divorced. They don't want to get divorced, but they don't know what to do. So if that was if that was who you wanted, you do a joint venture with Savannah, you run Facebook ads in front of her people, and there you go. So it just depends on who you're trying to attract. And does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes. When you dial down, if you dial down more while we're here, I'd be happy to spend more time with you. That would be my big 50% of the success or failure of any marketing campaign comes down to who the target market is. If your marketing isn't working, the first thing I would tell you to look at is who you're going after, because it's probably not specific enough. Financial planners, I hear this every day, it drives me crazy. Who's your ideal client? Baby boomers with money.
Yeah.
Thanks. I couldn't help myself. I went on a rant the other day because my 3-year-old decided not to sleep the night before, so I was not in a resourceful state for this consultation, and I probably should have rescheduled, but I did it anyway. And the guy, I said, who's your ideal client? And the guy says, pre-retirees and retirees. I said, well, everyone on the planet is either not retired yet or is retired. That's everybody. If you think about it, I said, you got a marketing budget the size of Nike's? He said, no. I said, well, then you got to narrow it down. Amy.
What is the success rate of podcasts in other languages?
I'm the wrong guy to ask. In all honesty,
Okay,
I don't speak
fair enough.
another language. I know nothing.
Okay, fair enough.
No
I'm
idea.
just curious.
I wish I do. I'm not gifted enough.
I know how you can get a broader target market than that last one. People with and without a pulse.
Alright, yes, you got me beat! Guerrilla style, baby, good job, Rich. I never would have thought of that. Dead people are a target market.
Chicago, they are.
They vote, right? If you think about that though for a second, this has nothing to do with what we're talking about. But somebody came up with the idea that they were gonna sell you a piece of rock to sit on top of dirt 6 feet under where there's a body. Can you imagine the board meeting of the first company saying we're gonna sell tombstones? The ad agency that pitched that is brilliant. I mean, it's like Subway, where I had lunch yesterday. When I got off the plane, I grabbed a sandwich at Subway. Think about do you know the Jared story?
Oh, yes.
Oh, do you know who Jared is? The guy who lost a couple hundred pounds, he eats food subs every day. Yeah, that's another story. That's not the story I'm telling. So, Subway didn't find Jared. Jared came to them. And just picture the board meeting. And look, they didn't originally do the deal at first, making him their spokesperson. It took a couple meetings. But imagine the board meeting where they say, we're gonna sell subs, it's diet food.
Yeah.
And then the skeptical guy that everyone has on their board says, but it's a loaf of bread. It's 12 inches, it's a loaf of bread with some veggies and meat stuck in it. No, it's diet food. It's freaking right. So they redefine their business, and if you look at their stock price, obviously since they've had some issues lately, but if you chart their stock price from when they started Jared to now, it's skyrocketed because they rebranded themselves as we're not selling you subs, we're selling you diet food. And then anyone wanted to lose weight, but could go to Subway and say they were on the Subway diet and eat Subway all day. Incidentally, we only saw one Jared. They didn't have 500 other commercials of 500 other people who lost 100 pounds on Subway. Why not if it worked? I'm just wondering. I don't know if anybody knows the answer to that, but I've always wondered how come there weren't 500 other testimonial videos.
Carbs?
I'm sorry?
Carbs?
Oh, carbs. Yes, I thought you said cars, and I was trying to do a car
There's a lot of
object.
carbs in that. Kind of tough to lose weight.
With a loaf of bread, yeah, that would be kind of tough. I'm not a diet guy. All right, anybody else want to play? What time is it? Does anyone know?
1:30.
1:30, so what time will we do
Be
that?
in the room in 15 minutes.
15 minutes. Okay, one more question, and then we're good.
How long should you do the podcast? Oh, you mentioned that.
No, but that's a good question. Thank you. So how long should you do a podcast? So we would tell you once a week.
Once a week?
Once a week. Because you don't have to be John Dumas or me who air every day. Because if I told you to do it every day, you just wouldn't do it at all. Most people, 80% would say, I can't do it. Too much time, don't have time. But if I tell you 20 minutes once a week, everybody can find, to change your business, everybody can find 20 minutes.
And you can pre-record.
Oh, I pre-record all of mine. None of mine are live. So like John also pre-records all of his. He does 7 episodes a week. He records them all in one day, 7 hours, and then takes the rest of the week off. Because his whole business is podcasting. So I would tell you once a week. And I didn't tell you this part because it's part of Secret Sauce, but I would tell you air on Wednesday. Wednesday. Hump day. At work, people are they're more likely to multitask and listen to them. We get higher listeners on Wednesday than any other day. Little secret sauce. Okay, 2 more, I lied, and I'm going to eat really fast.
You said 20 minutes. Is that sort of an ideal time frame?
Sweet spot for an interview show, 15 to 30, depending on how verbose, entertaining, and fascinating your guest is. But after 30 on an interview show, unless you're Gary Vaynerchuk or Tim Ferriss, it starts to fall off. Plus, it depends. I mean, my brother-in-law's in Virginia. His is like an hour and a half. It just depends. But
Typical comedian, 25 minutes, so.
he's got stats on it.
It's like a TED Talk.
10 talk, 10 minutes, sure. It just depends. But yeah, 15 to 30 minutes. It's funny. Another quick Stone Cold story is he said, I'm going to do a rant show. It's just going to be me. You know how many stories I got from wrestling and all these years. I'm a fascinating person. I'm going to do a rant show, and it's going to be an hour a day, every day, by myself. He said, no. He said, I'm doing it anyway. God bless you. Go for it. First episode, 10 minutes in, dead silence. What happened? I ran out of shit. Sorry, I ran out of stuff to say. I was gonna say, I ran out of shit. I said, I thought you could fill volumes and volumes. He said, it's really hard to be interesting by yourself. It's like, I'm a pseudo celebrity. I said, that's why we told you to interview other people. The show now he interviews other people.
People know they're gonna consume it, they know it's gonna get done within their community.
Yes.
If they think it's gonna go over,
Yes.
they start because they don't want to interrupt it, so it's.
Exactly. Unless you know going in, you're listening to Gary Vee and he's going to do an hour and a half. But you'll notice, and his is one of my favorite shows, you'll notice he has people read him questions, he has his staff ask questions. It's not just, it's him talking, but they've set it up so it feels more organic, like an interview. Some viewers write in questions and he answers them. They're interviewing him almost. It's not him just by himself. We had one other question over here. Yes?
Just to follow up, you mentioned release them on a Wednesday, seems to work well. Morning, noon?
Morning.
Morning.
Because again, you got commute, you got just got to work, oh man, I gotta work all day. Think about who hypothetically is going to listen to your show. And so I could be wrong, Wednesday might not be the right day for your target market. It might be different, but if you test, you can find out. That's what I'm here to share with you. I hope it inspired you. I hope you go do a podcast. I hope you turn it into a book. If you want help doing it, if you want it done with you and someone to hold your hand, or if you want it done for you, we've got services for both. The done for you version, we literally do all the work. All you got to do is the interview itself. Everything else is done. Happy to talk to you about that some later on during the day.
Great job.